If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah blah blah.
Good vibes.
Blah
Good vibes.
blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
And God is not going to come as an abstract. If it is so hard to connect with another human, embodied person, how do you expect to connect with an ideal, connect with a person that is not embodied?
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Amit Goswami a little bit later over in India. I think this is the third time we've had Amit on the show. Fantastic chat with a fantastic cat. Love Amit. He's always fun to chat with. Of course, that's where the original Doobie Doobie Doo came from. Well, I think it originally came from Scooby Doo, but that's where it came from here in Grimerica. Still lives in the show notes today. Actually, I was thinking we need a Doobie Doobie Doo shirt.
Yeah, we should.
How we don't have one already seems crazy, but we'll make one with a little grimerica.ca underneath.
Perfect.
Talk to our people. So what have you been? How you been, buddy?
Good. Not doing bad at all.
We're gonna get lots of feedback about your beard on the videos.
Oh boy,
People are liking the beard.
Really? No, I got to get rid of it. I just
rid
wanted
of
to
it?
see what it looked like. You know, I'm still, distant from my girlfriend. She's out of town, so I thought I'd grow it while she's gone, but
You don't
she's
like
still
it?
gone. No, she likes it.
Oh, does
So
she?
That's what I'm worried about. I want to get rid of it.
Before she sees it?
No, she sees it all the time on FaceTime, but
Why don't you just grow it out?
grow it out how long? Like
Fucking
the wizard, the
Gandalf,
beard,
yeah.
wizard beard. Yeah, maybe.
Grow it into
Maybe.
like, it'll be great for D&D.
Maybe.
Think of it as like a D&D prop. It'll be fantastic. We're going to go sliding today.
Good.
Finally warm up. It's going to warm up to +4, +3, +4.
Oh, perfect.
Go out to the sliding hill. Slide down.
Are you allowed to slide in during the lockdown, COVID lockdown?
I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. I don't care what the rules are. I do what I want.
Right on.
And it turns out that might have been the answer all along. Instead of just getting riled up. I mean, it's good to get riled up, but it seems like all the tickets are being thrown out now, and it was just a giant joke.
Well, I don't know. I would disagree, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
it seems like, but in retrospect, it's tough to know. But it's like those businesses should have just stayed open and no one would have done anything, Or they could have tried, but it wouldn't have held up.
Yeah, like Chris Sky was saying, they were giving him tickets, but they were misspelling his name all the time, right? Because they don't want it in court. So there's a reason why they don't want it in court.
An excuse for it to get
people,
thrown out.
but people get worried about a fine because then maybe they can come after you with a warrant.
$1,000 is a lot of money,
something, right? Or it's not about the money even. It's just about what.
Yeah, but even to most people, it is about the
No,
money. I
no,
mean,
I
that's
know,
half
but-
your rent for the month. It's like, most
no,
people, well, you haven't been working for a year. It's hard to fathom having an expense that will probably turn into a warrant or something else if you don't pay it.
Yeah. I love Amit's solution, eh? Gargle with salt water in the morning.
Yeah.
He's like, there's simple things you can do to this. Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't get canceled yet.
Well, he got canceled in the 70s. Remember we were talking about
right.
that on the
Yeah.
show? He's like the original, he was canceled before cancel culture was a thing.
He was pre-canceled.
He's pre-canceled because he was not into materialism. Wow.
Turned out to be right.
How things have changed.
Probably right. Anyway. Yeah. So, how you been? What do you got?
I got an email. I've been going through my junk and found a couple emails in there and got a little quote for you.
Quote?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Spiritual quote. We're getting away from the deep state quotes and we're doing more of like love quotes on love and happiness and stuff.
We'll probably
just
still
keep it positive.
do some deep state quotes, but just not all deep state quotes, especially in the middle of a Amit Goswami episode.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
seems it's weird to drop a totalitarian bomb.
It's the profound quote of the week.
probably guess these.
Probably not.
No. Happiness cannot be traveled to, owned, earned, worn, or consumed. Happiness is the spiritual experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude. It was Dennis Waitley.
I was going to guess Frank the Tank.
Yeah. I like that. That's kind of like what Amit was talking about. Amit. There's a part in his book, Happiness versus Pleasure. And it makes a lot of sense, you know? Pleasure is fleeting. Happiness is kind of more of a state of being.
Bigger?
Yeah. And like I was saying, it's like getting that level, that base level of contentment higher.
Happiness can't be caught. Well, you catch a fish, it's pretty happy. Or is that just pleasure?
That's pleasure.
What if you catch a bunch of fish?
That's happiness. Every day.
Living the dream.
So I got an email from Australia.
Australia?
2 emails from Australia.
Ooh.
They're completely different emails, completely different topics.
Completely? Is that...
So let's do the one first of all, based on our episode with Stephen Strong, or was it Evan Strong? I get them mixed up.
Stephen Strong.
And it was about that the Ayers Rock in Australia and Uluru and the awakening. So I got an email here from a Facebook group that one of them has been canceled.
Because of them?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure about the whole story. It's too long to read all of it, but I'll just pick out a couple good parts because I think this is important.
And now another edition of the Grimerican Goodies by the people, for the people.
So this is from Sherry, and she says, "Hey guys, this is from Esha Patel, a Facebook group I'm part of, and it reminded me of the Uluru episode you just had." And she says, maybe skim it and share the best parts. And just as a quick 101 intro, these planetary grids are energetic structures around the Earth. So that's like the ley line stuff, right, that they're talking about. While there are several of these grids, the main one that you need to know is the Flower of Life grid, which is basically this 3D flower of life. It's an energetic grid that carries the coding for the original blueprints of planet Earth. This is the grid that carries the Garden of Eden blueprint, which is essentially what is coming into full restoration as part of the shift into 5D. So then they talk about different subgrids, more localized subgrids, and she talks about all these different areas in Australia like Perth and Melbourne. And she says, so many people just don't understand how this grid actually works. The grid holds everything in place. The energetic structure of our planet play a vital role in how we experience life on the planet. The places to get hit the worst with lockdowns have been all places with the densest grids. Oh, that's interesting. I also know I've been working with them for years. I see the pattern so clearly and how the energy flows and how this has directly influenced what has been happening in the cities. Huh. So there's a Facebook group that got deleted. I'd posted a video about how that we can work together and get these grids energized and flowing. I mean, I don't know why the Facebook group is deleted, if it's this reason, but I mean, it's so disappointing, right?
Oh,
we can't even just, what can we talk about?
Corona being
Hate,
terrible.
you know? I mean, it's unbelievable. So a lot of people ask if there's a most beneficial time to do this practice. So she does say consistency is the key. We essentially need as many people doing this practice daily to support the energetic grids as we transition into the new Earth. So there's a link here. I'll put it in the show notes to Esha Patel. But he says, a lot of people ask if there's a beneficial way or time to do this practice. While doing it any time of day is beneficial, at the moment we are focusing on 2 flows. I wanted to read something else about that. The practice is simple. All it takes is for you to do just a few minutes out of your day to connect from your heart to the heart of Gaia. Do it in your localized area and direct the light through the grids where you are. If you need to follow something, go to the download of his 4 foundation practices. I'll put a link in the show notes. These practices will get you fully connected with many other benefits like balancing your own energy field as well. You can download them for free here, and I'll put a link in the show notes. So it kind of fits with Amit and what they're doing in a way as well. And I think after that Uluru episode, I realized like it's probably important just to put some intention and some meditation into, you know, that grid or that rock and all that stuff that was happening there.
Totally. All that good stuff.
a little, new agey, but I don't know. I'm open to it. We have grid lines around here, apparently.
Ley lines.
Ley lines.
Weren't we going to go find some one time?
Yeah, we
Maybe
were.
we should get on that this summer.
Northeast, northwest of us.
Northwest.
I think.
We could go find a ley line.
Yeah.
Is there none at that medicine wheel out by Vulcan?
There might be. I don't know.
That's, I might actually head out that way. It's prime hunting ground.
There's a confusing one. There's another medicine wheel that I went to off that dirt road. I think we talked about it a while ago.
The one I went
and
to
I'm not
was
sure
great.
if that's the Vulcan one too.
The only problem with it was we were in the car and it almost got stuck a bunch of times.
Yes,
If
that's
I was
the
in
one
my
I went
truck,
to.
it would
That's
have
the
been
one
no
I went
trouble
to
at
too,
all.
right? And then you climb up that hill at the
Yeah.
end, and it's up top the hill. Now is that the one that's just east of Vulcan?
Yeah, it's not just east, but it's probably about.
But that is the one,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
It's got to be a good half hour, 40 minutes east, and then you head north for a bit.
Okay.
I think that's all lease land, though. Good excuse to go hunting back there.
Huh.
People have been hunting around there forever, thousands of years.
Yeah. Since after the Younger Dryas, probably.
Alleged Younger Dryas.
Oh, really? Is that what it is now?
No, I don't know. I was just thinking the Tartaria stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there's another Younger Dryas sooner. It's like a few hundred years ago. The comet already came back. What do Randall thinks of that? I'd have to ask him. I
Yeah.
say it's bullshit. All right, let's
So
hear
speaking of that, the
other
Australia
email.
one. So this is good day, fellows, from the dictatorship that us Melbourne, Australia is at the moment. Just listening.
Is?
Just listening to your Ben Grundy show on communism. Can I steer you to Bill Cooper's Babylon Mystery Series? Ooh, you heard of that? Yeah. I mean, I've seen Bill Cooper on it. I didn't realize it was called the Babylon Mystery Series.
Is that like a novel or
No, I think it's like old TV shows or something.
Oh, is
he
it?
says it's long, shitloads of episodes, but he has nailed everything that is happening today. It's historic, hence why it's long. Another source you should probably get on your show is Alison McDowell, which we heard already, something very similar. Her Webby is Wrench in the Gears. She will explain the nuts and bolts of how they will implement the new revolution and the new world order. Whitney Webb is another. Yeah, we're in touch with her. It's the women leading the way. Hope you received this email. And funny enough, regards Cam. And funny enough, I didn't receive it. It went to spam. So
I'll teach
yeah, if you guys don't, you're welcome to spam Graham at graham@gramerica.com. And if you don't hear back, feel free to follow up or whatever. I mean, the junk folder's full. I just was going through it today and picking out stuff that should not have made it to junk.
Bigger? They're jamming up your junk?
Yeah.
Did you get that other email I sent you from the feedback? From the website? Or was that one of the ones you read?
Can you check your sent and I'll check?
I send a lot of emails. I could check in.
I thought I did, but for some reason I don't have it. Oh, I do have one here. So somebody signed up through Patreon and they said, awesome, thanks again. Oh, and thank you and Graham. I listened to the Dave Smith episode and enrolled into his recovery course. You both do good work, even when it isn't about vaccine damages, government cover-ups, and the paranormal in general. Sending good vibes to the both of you. Rich. Is that the one?
No, this must be the same guy. Did that other guy? Oh, yeah, from Cam.
Yeah.
Good day, fellas. Just listened to your John Sneezen potty about China and the blockchain system. DeepMind is not a Chinese company. China just happens to be the country selected to fashion/create the system that the World Economic Forum will use for its data collection economy. Seriously, look into Alison McDowell. She has done all the hard yards for us. Her research is invaluable. Any loving the show and the chemistry you buggers have going on. Alison McDowell, Wrench in the Gears. Yeah. Regards, Cam.
Yeah, I agree with him. I've listened to her before, and it is mind blowing. It's actually a little bit disturbing, to be honest. to see where things are going from her perspective. But she seems like one of these awesome researchers that just, I'm not going to say stumbled upon a bunch of stuff, but is opening up a can of worms, you know.
Opening up cans of worms.
So we should get her on Outlawed.
Totally.
Yeah.
We got Whitney Webb coming up on Outlaw next month.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Outlawed's jam-packed, man. It's
David
going
Icke.
great.
John Brisson.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? There's a ton of people just looking for an outlet because everything's been canceled. So
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
it could help.
Yeah, that's
Can't
good.
hurt.
Yeah.
If you guys want to check that out, head over to GrindAmericaOutlaw.ca if you want to see all that more controversial stuff we're doing over there, pushing back against COVID and vaccines and all the stuff we don't want to do here anymore because it's just not the best platform for it. I don't want to bitch about vaccines on an Amit Goswami episode. We're going to talk about how great everything is.
Yeah, and
Swag
get people to like sign up for the free one, even if you're not gonna get the plus thing, but just download the free podcast.
Yeah, the free
Outlawed,
show is just very similar
Get that
to here. It's
algorithm going so that more people see it out there, and it'll help.
Totally. It'll totally help. And then the other thing is the swag shop's been popping. We got the new swag shop since we left Redbubble, since they didn't like our stuff. So we got the new swag shop set up, GrindAmerica.ca/swag. We got a bunch of masks at GrindAmerica.ca/masks. But the swag shop's popping, and if we keep it popping, they're going to unlock the hats and the toques soon.
Oh, really?
So then we'll have finally Grimerica hats and Grimerica toques for sale of all different varieties.
Do they have a toque you can just pull over your face as a mask?
A balaclava? I don't know. They have, someone sent me a picture yesterday of them in their new Grimerica, what do they call the one that goes, the gator, a Grimerica gator.
I saw a guy get in trouble in the Walmart or some store because he was wearing a full mask, not a full face mask, and not just a mask. And he's like, you can't wear a full face mask.
What?
Take the full face mask off and put on just a normal
Just a half mask?
I've got one here. No, I'm got a full mask. And he had I think he was missing a nose, so that was a prosthetic face mask.
Oh, what do you got?
What?
What were you wearing?
Oh, I wasn't. This is on YouTube.
Oh,
Or on Instagram or something.
can't cancel that YouTube, eh? I tried canceling YouTube. He called me on it.
Well, dude, I'm doing all the research for the show. There's a lot of topics on there I need to find on YouTube. It's still there. It's still, I know I'd rather just get off there. I'd like to eventually, but right now,
You could be on there and just not pay pay
3 or
them.
4 shows a week. There's no way I'm going to watch all those ads. There's no way I would ever use YouTube without paying them. I'd rather pay them than watch all those bullshit ads.
They're cornering you into it now because now they just put ads on everything.
No, they don't. I don't see any ads.
Not if you pay them.
I know, but
But
I'd
if you
rather
don't
do
pay
that.
them, now they emailed us the other day and just said, hey, we now reserve the right to put ads on any content we deem advertisable.
That's great. Well, then most of the stuff I watch must not be advertisable.
No, it's because you pay.
Right. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
If you pay the $11 a month, you never watch an ad.
I know, but to me, it's worth it because I would never be able to handle it without that. But there's a lot of people, like I was doing research for a show this morning, just and watched an hour interview with a guy that I don't think it's anywhere else but YouTube.
Did you check Odyssey?
No, I didn't.
We're all over Odyssey now. You guys want to check that out?
I know I should. To be honest with you, I need to spend more time on other platforms.
We're finally on Odyssey. Not all the shows, but I think like the last 350 are there or something like that. Eventually we'll get them all there, but that's a good start. It's like half of it. Half of it's there. So if you don't want to watch YouTube, you can check that out. If you don't want to watch that, we're over on Rockfin. We got some content there. We got some content on Odyssey. And we got some content on YouTube as well for now. We're going to get out of that, though, eventually.
But we can't stream Outlawed on YouTube anymore, right? So you're streaming it on Rockfin.
We stream that on
people
Rockfin.
should go sign up for free on Rockfin. They don't have to pay, although we do have another series over there that's for Rockfin paid members.
But we have a ton of free stuff there, too, and there's a ton of free stuff all over Rockfin. So if you want to get off of Netflix or YouTube, it's a good place to go poke around. Definitely want to check about the swag shop. You definitely want to support the show. If you're enjoying the podcast we're doing over here, I think this will be number 481 or 482, all free, the whole back catalog. Check out GrindAmerica.ca/support today. You can sign up for a monthly or a yearly, or you can do a one-time donation. There's PayPal, there's Stripe, there's Patreon, there's cryptocurrency. If you don't like any of those, shoot us an email. We'll figure something else out.
There's some audiobooks too. Secret Societies of All Ages and Countries, Volume 1 and 2 are in Audible. And
Right.
you can get there through Audible, searching Grimerica, I guess, or you can also get there through the landing page, adultbrain.ca.
Yeah, that'll have all the books read by your buddy Grambo over there. All the best books. So how's the biohacking going?
Biohacking.
You're down 20 pounds?
I'm down 20 pounds.
Wow.
I can't even believe I had 20 pounds to lose like in 6 weeks.
You could probably find another 20.
I can, yeah. No, I'm looking for another 15, let's say. I'm looking for another 15, and then I'll be at a spot where I can start snacking.
What's your secret?
Again. Carnivore. Only
Straight
animal
carnivore.
products.
That's it, eh?
Only animal products, yeah.
A lot of cheese? No cheese?
Some cheese, yeah. Some cheese, yeah. Some milk, some cheese. Not a lot of milk. Not a lot of cheese.
Milk, cheese, and meat?
Meat,
Sausage?
sausage,
What's
bacon,
your go-to?
bacon and eggs.
A lot of bacon and
Bacon,
eggs?
eggs, sausage, steaks, burgers,
I'd eat a lot of eggs
chicken,
for sure.
fish, prawns, scallops, all that stuff. That's kind of, But I eat less too. Like I'm doing the intermittent fasting a little bit.
Are you hungry all the time?
No, I'm never
No?
hungry. That's the weird thing. Like that is the crazy thing, dude. It's those empty carbs that just make you have this weird hunger.
So
Even when I get a little hungry, it's not the same. It's not this famished sort of hunger. It's just you're sort of like, I almost feel like, I could still go a couple hours, but I'll eat because it's kind of time to eat. But
your portion size is smaller with meat?
yeah, definitely. That's part. I mean, I don't know how much of it is because of the portion sizes and because of not snacking at night as much. Like the only thing I snack on at night is like maybe beef jerky or bacon puffs.
Bacon puffs? Do those count?
What do you mean? Do they count?
There's no carbs hidden in those bacon puffs somewhere?
No, dude. It's all like lard and lard and pork.
Really, eh?
Yep.
I should switch to those for a snack.
Oh yeah. It's all animal
It's
It's all
products?
animal products. Yeah. I buy like 4 or 5 bags at a time.
Are they salty? Are they good?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I used to like pork rinds back in the day, but it's hard to find. Oh, look, the chicken's at the window. I think that one likes you.
So yeah, it's I don't know how much of it is the intermittent fasting versus the portion size versus just the animal products and the energy but yeah, it's going good. Yeah.
Yeah, I might try that out at some point. Tough. I couldn't get my kids on it right now, so there's all the stuff's around, so it's
Yeah.
hard not to eat that stuff when it's around.
Yeah, I don't even have any of that around.
All right, what
But-
else you got? Got anything else?
No, that's about it, dude. Yeah,
All right.
just enjoy the show and
Enjoy the show. We'll pop in our Gary Wayne best of from the Gary Wayne show here at 6
Oh,
or
really?
7 minutes. Might as well. We put them
okay.
on the last couple.
Okay, so this is from the Rockfin series, right?
Yeah,
On
this is from
Giants and Bloodlines.
these are the highlights from the series with Gary Wayne.
Is that how I thought it was longer than that?
It's about 7 minutes.
That's it?
Yeah, this
The
one was
one I
much
put
shorter.
together?
He did much
Really?
better this time.
Oh.
The other two were like almost the whole episode. This one's down to 7 minutes. If you want to catch the hot points from the Gary Wayne show we did for Rockfin, we got that here for you, so you don't have to go anyplace else if you just want the hot spots coming at you. And after that, we will jump into it with the wonderful Amit Goswami.
In this particular family that he starts, he creates 10 demigod kings. And demigod, in its ancient understanding, is the offspring of a god and a human female. Just like the Genesis 6 story has the sons of God and the daughters of Cain, producing the Nephilim, or the giants, as it's recorded in the King James Version Bible, with giants going back to the word Nephil and I am for the male plural. So these demigod kings were described as Atlanteans who had blonde hair and blue eyes and sharp aquiline or hooked noses. They had high cheekbones, their eyes glowed, they had long necks, they were serpentine looking because they looked just like the Watchers who created them. Again, just to show people that this is a global historical reckoning of what happened in prehistory that always includes giants. And we just need to understand that fact. So if you go into Genesis 6 now, 6:1 through 4 is where the giants are created before the flood. That's the preamble to the flood story. So what happens in Genesis 6, you get the creation of the giants, and you get the Noah's Commission because of what the giants are doing, and then you get the flood, all in chapter 6, and then 7 and 8 are going to, and 9 are going to cover the flood, and shortly thereafter. So it is the start of the flood story. There's nothing to separate it, and in all accounts around the world, it's the giants that are causing the gods in the polytheist perspective to destroy the earth because of the destruction and the horrible things that the giants are doing. I think both are controlling the information for their own power reasons. And those are the two biggest sources, not the Smithsonian. That's a branch of the Royal Society and the Freemasons. Understand the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians established the Royal Society, and then the money, James Smithson, who was a Rosicrucian and a Royal Society member, funded the Smithsonian to be created with his will. So if you look at the Windsor family, and this is just on some things that they have said, and also what we know about the dynasty that they're going to connect back to. Prince Charles and Elizabeth, but mostly Prince Charles, had said he has genealogies that takes him back to Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of spooky, but that's a different story. And he was a red-haired, hazel-eyed, pale-skinned, Tuatha De Danann descendant from Scythia that they take their genealogies back to.
So all these different mythologies and cultures have their version of giants, I guess. Like there's the Nephilim and the Anunnaki, the Titans, and all the ones that you mentioned. There's the Chinese ones and the Egyptian ones and the South American ones. I mean, they've all got their version of this.
They do. So like you have the Myosi in China, or you have the Datria, the Azuras, and several other names in India. You have the Xibalba in the Kishamaya. All around the world, you have an accounting of these giants, the Tengu in Southeast Asia and into Japan. So there's many, many different names for them. And the Xibalba were and the Tengu, they were a bird-like looking Nephilim and priests, because they usually produced a priest class and a warrior ruling class, and that comes from the Anunnaki, I think, and or a Horus type of god. It's all talking about bringing what they would call the 1,000 points of light together. So that's the famous buzzwords that both Senior and Junior of the Bush family talked about in several speeches, including at Senior's funeral by Junior. And the 1,000 points of light is a reference to the spark of the divine. And the 1,000 points of light was used in the New World Order speech by President Bush Sr. In the 90s when it first sort of came out. Well, there's a link, and if people can't find it, they can get a hold of me. I can send it to you. It's a link where it has old newspaper writings.
Right.
That I was talking about earlier, starting in about the 1850s. Yeah. And again, all of those findings, they go to the universities and then to the Smithsonian or right to the Smithsonian, and they just kind of disappear. I think from a contemporary basis, those are the best ones to look at, and then look into the Peruvian skulls.
Right.
Yeah, and can I just touch on a few names out of the Bible that are giants?
Yeah, absolutely. This is like the who's who of giants.
I mean, people are familiar with the name Nephilim. I also talk about Rephaim. So Nephilim only shows up 3 times for giant in the King James Version Bible. All the other 25 times it goes back to Rephaim. The Rephaim are the post-Diluvian giants. Now, you've got other names that are shown that are giants, which are Anak, or the Anakim. And you've got the Emin, and you've got the Zuzim that I mentioned earlier, the Amalekim, the Horim, the Zamzuzim, the Avim, the Hivim, and the Horim. And there are more yet. You have the Caphtorim, you have the Perazim, I think you have the Kenim and the Kenazim that I mentioned earlier, and you also have the Caphtorites, the Caphtorim as well, and the Chetharim that are mentioned. And that's the main ones that you're going to see talked about in the Bible, but they don't always say they're giants.
All right, tonight we got a special episode. We have the quantum activist himself back after 7 years. He's a retired professor of physics, an author, a researcher. His latest book collaboration is Quantum Activation. Fantastic book, so we're happy to talk to you about it. Welcome back, Amit Goswami.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming back on. I can't believe it's been 7 years. I looked it up, and yeah, you were one of our favorite episodes back then, and you're still pumping out these books. It's great.
What, it's been 7 years since we had Amit on the show the first time?
7
Well, then we
years,
had him on again.
Oh, did we? That was the first time, I guess.
Yeah, the first time was 7 years ago. Man, I only had one kid.
Right. I appreciate being here.
So I guess we should start with the background. I mean, your book is called Quantum Activation. It's a collaboration with a couple other authors. You guys talk a lot about childhood trauma and healing, some different modalities. Maybe we could talk about why you decided to collaborate on this book after working on, all your other quantum books.
Well, actually, Carl Blake, one of my co-authors, was the motivator behind the book. But I have been wanting to write a book on the quantum science of manifestation, because this has been on the horizon for a very long time. The first wave of we create our own reality, that was in the 1970s. And then came a movie and a book called Secret, and giving very simple recipes of the secret is just to wait, make a wish and wait. And then that got into wait, maybe meditation, but that also didn't get much anywhere. And then the ideas were given that maybe there are archetypes or other things that are attracted to us, and you have to intend for those to get manifestation. But during all this time, of course, I've been developing the quantum science of how we create our reality. And the simple catch was that we don't create our reality from our ordinary state of the ego. We need to get into higher states of consciousness. We need to access where from the manifestation happens, the perpetrator of downward causation, which is actually oneness of consciousness. Sometimes we call it God, but however we call it, it is beyond our ordinary state of consciousness. We have to meditate or be creative, or at least intend and do a process, which is, of course, what we write this book about. And there are some preparatory stuff. Preparatory stuff is the subtitle of the book, changing obstacles into opportunities. That's the first thing we need to do. And then we apply the science of manifestation, and rest of it is specifics. We have Gary Stewart, our third co-author, who specifically applied the technique to his family constellation therapy patients with enormous success. I am no psychotherapist, no psychologist, but I did work with a psychotherapist, Sunita Patani. She used it also with great success in her practice in London. So in this way, we have some experience with how to use the quantum science of manifestation for manifesting mental health, also for serious problems like, family constellation therapy generally talk about abuse that go on in a family perpetually.
Yeah.
And so these are suggestive that the technique that we are suggesting can really work.
Yeah. So can you dig into that? You were explaining there about how we create our reality from a higher state of consciousness. And you mentioned that we have to perpetuate something. Can you dig into a little bit of detail on how do we explain that to people? Like, is it the frequency, the resonating with something greater, like getting your, in that sort of bliss state, or how does that actually work, do you think?
Well, that's a pretty good suggestion. Actually, resonating with something that is already in our collective unconscious is one of the easiest way of getting into the non-local consciousness. Non-local is a technical term.
Yeah.
localness of everything, consciousness in quantum physics, we call it non-local.
Yeah.
Instant communication connects us all. That capacity is what we have to unlock. It has become locked in the ego state. Ego state is a constricted state of consciousness. So the whole trick is how to go from a constricted state of consciousness and expand it. It can be done with resonating with a mantra, quickest, or prayer. We do an intention ritual. That's our preferred technique.
The puja?
I'll share it with you right now if you want.
Sure, yeah.
So what we do is a 4-stage process. Meditation is included in it, prayer is included in it. But we also recognize that we must start the intention as the book Secret suggested. It must come from the ego because that's where we are. We must begin where we are. If we begin where we are with additionally some inspiration, that is very good. So we do a little ritual, we light some incense, we look at some flowers, beautiful objects, we play some music, and this is to inspire us. In that inspired mode, then we intend. Intention has 4 stages. One is the intention from the ego. I intend. For example, I intend to heal whatever the disease is. And then we realize that movement of consciousness is not very oriented towards our personal goals. They are the ego rules, but so we need to generalize the intention. So second part of the intention is I intend, but let this intention be for the greater good. Third part is prayer. Very much the Christian style, thy will be done. We just modify it a little bit. Let my intention be in resonance with the movement of consciousness. This one is very important. So we stay with the prayer for a bit and we end the prayer with silence. That is the meditation part. Silence we stay until we feel elevated, until we feel inspired. If the intuition comes immediately, that's wonderful. If the intuition doesn't come, we just every day for a while, we repeat this ritual. And often an intuition will come after the ritual if we do it quite sincerely and elaborately from an expanded state of consciousness. And then the whole process is just follow it up with the creative process. So this is something that a medical doctor friend of mine applied it to actually healing a medical disease, retinal edema. So we have some actual proofs that it works, it's effective.
Is that when you're talking through that process, it kind of made me think of the process Napoleon Hill described as sneaking it from your conscious into the subconscious.
They mention that in the book.
Yes. We have to involve the not the subconscious so much, but subconscious is an entry to the quantum unconscious, which has this unlimited potentiality, new potentiality for us to engage, which will actually heal us. You see, the healing potentialities are there. It's just that we don't know how to use them. So the whole trick of quantum healing or any thing that we want, for example, we can want to love someone or to love everyone. The whole trick of this, the whole reason that we don't succeed is that we are so constricted that it is just a thought. We don't put any feeling into it. We don't put the intention in a way that consciousness can hear it. The consciousness does not hear in the usual way, but what happens is that in our expanded state, the intention, you use the word resonance, that's a very good word, it resonates with the intention of the, you can call it divine intention or intention of the movement of the consciousness. And this is the point. It has to resonate. That resonation is all we can do. We can hope that our intention resonates with the purposive movement of consciousness. Once that happens, then we are on, because consciousness is fully supporting it. How is it supporting it? Through the unconscious, of course. So we still have to follow it up with do, be, do, be, do. Be is the way for us to get to the unconscious.
So in a sense, you can kind of just fake it till you make it. You can kind of like, even if you can't, if you can't figure out how to get it from the conscious to the subconscious, then just bust your ass at it and it'll naturally sort of permeate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the trick is they do a dual process. The part that we can do, that's the do part. There we are very focused. We not only go on intending, but we do our best. For example, suppose you are trying to heal a mental problem. We do our best. We prepare. We use all our ideas. I will do this, I will do that. Okay, let's imagine a scenario. We visualize that we are healed. Anything that will promote the idea that I don't want to be in this disease state, I really want to be in a healed state. We invoke that. We read other people's work. We participate in workshops. We do healing meditations, healing visualization. Those are very effective. But that's the do part. We must not think that it's all doing. The be part is the part where we are surrendering to the movement of consciousness. How do we do the be part? This takes a while to get a grip on it. People have very little understanding. So here we suggest that people meditate. There are ways to meditate. One kind of meditation is the focusing meditation. That usually is what people do these days. Meditation with the mantra that TM teaches, or meditation on the breath in Buddhism. But there is a meditation called mindfulness, also from Buddhism, Vipassana. That is much more effective, because there we're just watching our thought. And eventually, if we do it more and more incisively and let go, that is the crucial part. But let go does not happen by wishing it. Let go has to take place by itself, and that's the trick. So we watch first just the thought, and then we watch the entire field of awareness. Then it is called awareness meditation. And that is a very effective way to learn how to just sit without fidgeting. If we then have a do session, and then learn to just sit every day for periods, and then again engage into some active intending, doing, researching, trying to figure out what would be the best in order to heal this problem, and work with a therapist. Like Gary actually works with his clients. My psychiatrist friend, she does the same thing. All this is useful part of the do. But the be part, the client, the patient, the subject has to do with himself or herself. It is there that the power of the intention has to come in the form of a surrender. In other words, we are giving up the will of the ego, and in its place, we are agreeing that a higher power is needed for making this intuition into a fruition.
Have you read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer?
I haven't, but I have read similar experiments by others. It is a very good series of experiments that a lot of people have carried out, and obviously, there is good data now that the surrender is a good part of the intention.
Yeah, you guys mentioned the Benson book, which I don't hear a lot about, but the Relaxation Response, which is, I think, might be similar to that.
Yeah, it's an old book. That's why you don't hear about it much. It was a 70s, 80s book. But it is a good book. It was the first recognition by a doctor of some reputation of the materialist ilk. So it meant a lot. That work actually was crucial in the breakthrough that, yes, meditation does produce relaxation response. And of course, the relaxation response in terms of medicine just simply means that meditation has an effect on bringing up the parasympathetic nervous system. Much of the harm that stress, emotional stress causes us is because the sympathetic nervous system, when it's too active, produces cortisol in the body, harmful molecules, hormones. And so parasympathetic nervous system, when that is equally activated and balance is sympathetic, then we can recover from that habit. And that way, we eliminate a lot of evil effect of disease. So that's the first step. But that is only a medical part, brain part, body part of the technique we are talking about. The other part of being is for the unconscious in the mental, emotional software part. This is more on the hardware. We eliminated the emission of cortisol in our body. But there is also software that activates organ functions. For example, let's take the case of a person who has this repeatedly in that family, there is this abuse, child abuse that takes place. And people get caught into that. And when they suffer it themselves and they become adult, they don't know why or how, but they somehow get into abusing their own children, grandchildren, nephews, nieces, what have you. This problem perpetuates. What they are looking for, what Gary finds, and of course the theory completely supports, is that from past lives, there is some karma. We get from our past lives habit patterns, character traits. Those are the things that we inherit from a past life. And this bad karma, as they call it in traditions, is what keeps us being born in that family over and over and over and going through the same scene to get rid of the bad karma. But how do we get rid of it? It's very interesting. The awareness just is not there. The awareness that I don't have to carry on with this bad karma. I can just drop it. So Gary's intention is just so simple, and his therapy is just insisting with his elevated consciousness to release this constriction of consciousness that comes from helplessness. That I'm destined. I'm determined to do this. It's not within my power, but of course the power is very much within us, and that is the power of creating our own reality in which this particular bad karma does not exist. And when the client realizes this, he is free.
And that's why it's important to do that. You were saying earlier on, to try and get through that software problem, sort of reboot your software early on the process, so then you can reach the other stage a little bit easier, or it makes it more, I guess, potentially powerful.
Absolutely. We always suggest that, look, brain is built in such a way that it's 5 times more negative than positive. But of course, the positive is there in the brain. So what we do, like even there is recognition now on the part of materialists that we can be positive. We can accentuate the positive part of the brain rather than fall prey to the negative all the time, if we are aware. So what they're doing is the same thing that part of what we are saying. Awareness, develop awareness, mindfulness, and see the process of what the patterns are, what the habits are, and then realize that we cannot drop it by wishing it. We have to get a higher power to act on us to drop the harmful habit patterns. So this is the process. So we start with an intention, but then we engage with do we do, and then the crucial part where the quantum leap will take place. But we can facilitate, just as you were saying, for the quantum leap to take place, we can facilitate that by living in a more positive way. In other words, the positivity invites the potential, so to speak, the archetypes, which are the basis of all healing potentials. The archetypes like love, for example, archetypes like goodness. These things don't come to us when we are constricted. These things can come to us only when we are inspired, when we are ready to receive them. What is love but an expanded consciousness which can include another person? For example, for the person that receiving family constellation, the extremely constricted personality takes to abuse a child that is under your care, so to speak. You are a relative of some responsibility to guard your little charges. Instead, this person seduces the little girl, and that, of course, is just a heinous thing, and he doesn't want to do it, but he helplessly does it. And of course, the history is that he also was subjected to the same kind of abuse. So this is the kind of thing where this helpless participation has to give way to an ability, a character trait. Simply recognition that I don't need to do this. That's the beginning. It helps enormously if such a person becomes positive. Instead of taking the attitude, no, it's beyond my capacity, I cannot do that, I am stuck with it. Instead, if we develop the attitude, yes, I can do it, there is infinite potentiality for me to help, and all I need to do is to start loving, which I try to do anyway, but in my constricted consciousness, I don't really love this little girl. This is why when I get the urge of doing this heinous thing, I cannot stop myself. But instead, if I really love, if I am expanded in her presence, then things change completely. In the expanded state, that kind of behavior just cannot come. So expanded states, we absolutely promote. We say to people in general that why wait? Just work on expanding yourself. In this way, you won't have the problem of mental disease, aberrations, all these things. So in the tool set or skill set, whatever you want to call it, that we recommend at the end of the book, quantum activation, consists of like changing your belief system. The current belief system, of course, is very, very pessimistic. People really believe more or less, almost everybody this way or that way, but some kind of conspiracy. Like materialists believe that spirituality is a conspiracy by religion to keep them into, losing their sexual freedom or whatever have you. From the religious side, they have even more conspiracy theories, including hell and including Satan, including what have you. But these conspiracy theories are coming because we are living in a very constricted consciousness. If you are intelligent, you make intelligent conspiracy theories. If you are not so intelligent, not so mentally oriented, thinking oriented, rationally oriented, you make irrational conspiracy theories. But everybody has become a devotee of the lie. We know those lies. Like everybody knows that materialism is a lie. Things, consciousness cannot be made of matter. Matter is the object, consciousness is a subjective experience. The two are not compatible. A subject cannot be an object entirely. This is obvious to anybody, including the materialists, if they were fully in charge of their rationality, but they get stuck with the dogma. So any dogma, any beliefs that you are imposing upon yourself, such as the family constellation, we have people who believe that I cannot not be a child abuser. It's just not possible for me. I got abused myself. This is the only thing I know, and I kind of have to do it. I don't know how not to do it. Or take another case, which is...
I was going to say you could fill in the blanks there with I can't not drink, I can't not do drugs, I can't not
do drugs. That was what you read my mind. So that one. We have not really applied a serious case of drug addiction yet. I have not found a... we have a school where we teach these things. We have a PhD, master's and PhD program of teaching this kind of technique. But I have not found a research student yet who will seriously engage with healing addiction. I really believe that we can go beyond what Alcoholics Anonymous, they are a great organization, they do greatly, but they have not discovered that there is one more step that they can take, is teach people quantum healing. Yeah. Teach people these steps of intention, and then do, and then insight, and then manifesting help. This could be a fantastic way of battling drug addiction.
Yeah. Are you using... Is health the best example because it's more tangibly measurable?
Well, health is a good example because people are suffering maximally from health problems. Today, we have coronavirus. Take this case. People are so fixed on things, preventive measures, simple preventive measures, and people are not doing it, blaming others, etc. But mask is very good thing to do. But of course, mask is necessary when you are interacting with a stranger. If you are interacting with people that you have to regularly interact with, mask is not convenient. Instead, really, the people of your intimate circle, they must have additional preventive measure, and those measures are available. Simple measures, like you can simply gargle with salt water every night. Just make it a habit. It just takes 5 minutes, even less. And that simply eliminates all the COVID that might have come your way. Similarly, you can do a...
go in the sun.
Treatment of the nose, and, it's very easy to go through. Or just breathing. If we breathe, a practice called pranayama for 5 minutes, coronavirus will quit. So it's not difficult. But what is difficult is for people to do it regularly because they think that this is redundant. I'm not going to get sick. The same mindset which prevents them from wearing a mask when in public. So these are things, problem with the belief system. The belief system confusion is getting to everyone. If we can teach a whole bunch of new belief systems, I claim that we can eliminate the chronic disease like heart disease.
I was going to ask, do you notice more of so is it more, it almost seems like more of the healing success stories, it has to be a cancer or this or that before someone kind of gets shook up enough to try something like what you're talking about. Whereas if you do it on the daily, you don't get the flu, you don't get anything. You're just on the ball.
It is worse because the success stories are already there. There was a guy named Simonton, a doctor, oncologist, and his wife in the 80s and 90s. He had a firm, and he got people there, cancer patients, of sometimes terminal cancer. And he would give them simple visualization process. which would produce quantum leap. Same kind of thing that I'm talking about. They go through intention, and he was not using quantum physics, just common sense. He figured this out. Well, he knew a little bit about it, perhaps. And amazing that how many of his patients got healed. So we already have success stories like that, except that people somehow think, this is the problem with the belief system, that going through helplessly with chemotherapy and all that suffering that it brings is better than doing simple meditative practices. This is a strange thing about human beings. If something, you don't have to do a mental effort, although you know that it's going to lead to enormous suffering. I mean, chemotherapy, have you ever watched people under chemotherapy? I have. It's absolutely ridiculous how much suffering they invite. That process is a disaster. And yet people prefer it than doing a simple meditative ritual or doobie-doobie-doo in their life. Not very hard, not even time-consuming, but somehow prevents them. I think it's that basic belief that these things are hocus pocus that materialism has introduced in our society.
Well, yeah, it's almost like a further, because I mean, like what you're talking about now with the salt water, and we mentioned the sunlight and all these physical things, eating well and stuff like that, getting rest that we can't even talk about now. And that's like, so it's like first we took away the called the spiritual aspect of it, hocus pocus. Oh, just it's crazy. You can't do any of that stuff. Go get the chemo. That's the only way. Now we're saying, no, sunshine and diet and exercise, that's crazy. You just gotta go get the chemo and be done with it. I feel like we're getting further and further and further away from where we need to be.
Right. I mean, in the meantime, 500,000 people are dead. I mean, they don't have to. I mean, this is so sad that it can all be prevented by taking simple practices, inviting just simple rituals that we routinely go through. We are actually telling people to do rituals. I mean, what is mass but a ritual? And when it comes to physical things, people do them. When it comes to mental things, they won't. So this is the very strange thing. Where did it come from? It coming from materialism being pervading everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it's not the people. The people can't be blamed necessarily. It's coming through the medical system, through the doctors, through all the supposed scientists, the science that you can talk about, not the science you can't talk about.
Exactly. Before my eyes, I was fully active professor at the time when this debunking of spiritual happened in the academy.
I wanted to ask you about that. I'm glad you're talking about it.
It was so strange because I was teaching in that particular year. I was teaching a course called Physicist's View of Nature. And of course, the course was a sort of rebellion against materialism. And that made me kind of notorious in the campus, so people would flock to my course. And I would constantly hear the complaint that how can we believe science anymore when it says precisely, these are students of English, students of fine arts, students of music, students of education. When this science is saying the basis of all these things in our society is just simply hocus pocus. This science is saying that no values don't exist, no music is meaningless except as entertainment, no art doesn't exist as anything meaningful either, no archetypes don't exist, spirituality is humbug. So how can we trust this science? This was the huge thing for especially the women students. They were just completely revolting against this. That's when science started losing credibility. Within a few years, you remember, moral majority was created that no, people will reject this. And that's how the basic battle of worldview started around that time.
And you got personally affected by that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what happened to you a little bit?
Did you get canceled?
He got canceled back then.
Were you like the first cancel culture?
Yes, that is how the cancel mania started. I mean, biggest cancel that has been attempted is actually materialism canceling spirituality. The whole, just imagine, even now 50% of the world are religious, some kind of spiritual. Okay, agreed, religions are dogmatic too. That is a problem, but still they talk about spiritual values. They talk about God, something outside of the human constricted ego. Okay, their God is a white man, bearded man, old man, very bad image.
It's a start. Yeah, it's a start.
But still, it's admitting that there is a higher power.
It's surrendering. It's some light surrender.
Right, exactly. Which, by the way, I mean, people know that surrender has its good effect, right? So these things are empirically validated, and even so, the belief has been so undermined now by materialism that even the religionists hardly believe their own preachings. This is the problem. Everybody has become cynical. So, if cynical, one part of the cynicism is you make believe, political correctness, and that's all we needed in order to have value. When a person say, "Hey, be nice," all he means is that be nice when you meet somebody. When you say, "How are you?" When she asks, "How are you?" you say, "I'm fine," although you are hiding something greatly wrong with yourself. That's the correctness. So long as you're correct, you're okay. But that's not okay. It's not okay because then we pretend. Like big pretension of this genre is this. Before we have intelligence quotient, now we have EQ, empathy quotient. Empathy is precisely the quantum ability of non-locality, including somebody in your expanded consciousness. A person who is saying, "I am sympathetic with you, I hear you, I completely identify with you," just words. It doesn't catch. And people know that it doesn't catch. Okay, a few people has gone beyond it. I really do believe that there are people in politics even who are empathic. That is not what I'm saying. Even a conservative person can be empathic, and there are many conservative people who are greatly empathic. But generally, the whole culture has bought the idea that these things are just pretend things. People pretend. And this has made people into such cynics that, you and I can talk about this 1 hour of talking about the power of intention, power of surrendering, power of higher power. We can talk about how we have to engage vital energy in the process, how we have to engage intuition in the process. But everything gets defeated in the belief that all this is still not going to work. Only thing that is going to work is those physical medicines, although they are eventually not going to work either.
And you can even extrapolate that out to like coffee, food, all the things you're doing, just sort of numb yourself out from your daily grind or that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that this is what we are, I realized for some time that what is needed urgently is education. We really have to change the belief system of people. And this is what we do. We talk about nutrition in terms of not only nutrition of the physical body, but nutrition of the software as well. It's just common sense. I mean, look, we have hardware. We have the physical body, just like computers. Computers have hardware. But without the software, we cannot use the computer. Who creates the software? Consciousness does. So in this way, we get software, emotional software. And this emotional software is the basic problem. There is universal software connected with the organ functions. They are pretty stable. The emotional software, personal software, this is where our problems arise. This is where we get stressed up. This is where we acquire bad habits like drug addiction. All this is connected with the wrong software. And people have made studies of drug addiction. You show me a drug addicted person, I'll show you a person of enormous pain. That's the fact. Where is the pain coming from? The software is not connecting with the hardware. Software is no longer effective. We have to make that connection back. We have to work on the software. We have to provide nutrition for the software. Where is that nutrition? Nutrition is in the exercise of feelings, love, the archetypes. And this is what is missing, the positive part of the human being. Positive part is not built into the brain much, little bit only. We have to invoke them, explore them, manifest them, embody them. That's the creative process.
And that's part of the reason why you use the flowers and the beautiful things. You focus on those beautiful objects to create that.
Wonderfully put. Exactly. Exactly. So it starts like that. It starts like a recognition of the simple, beautiful things that we could do, but we don't. Simple, beautiful things we surround with, which will keep us in an elevated consciousness.
And that's kind of like the science of positive thinking.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Well, part of it, but it's not just thinking. That's the mistake that previous people with another age made.
Being, it's positive being.
Yeah, positive feeling. Much better, and then eventually the archetypes. We have to bring in archetypes like love, goodness, justice, truth, concept of abundance, concept of power. Of course, is there very much, but it has to be changed from power for my selfishness to power for the people, power for helping others. These are the ways that we can expand our consciousness. Partly it is already there because, you mentioned resonance before. Why does resonating work? Like, why does a simple prayer or meditation on a mantra, why do they work? They work simply because our ancestors, they were better people than us. They had more expanded consciousness. So they did these collective prayers, they did these collective meditations, and these rituals have become part of our collective unconscious. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, did wonderful study of this. So he has an entire procedure of how to connect to the collective unconscious and let these Jungian archetypes, they are a sort of a representation of the Platonic archetypes that I'm talking about, love, goodness, justice, but of the same ilk. Our ancestors already did some of it. We can use them and do some part of the healing. But of course, the best healing is get to the archetypes directly, and this is what necessary sometimes if you want to heal serious things like drug addiction or cancer.
Maybe we should talk about a little bit about the details of the constellation therapy. Like Gary mentions in the book about being in Calgary, and a friend of mine, she's a Reiki master and different types of Reiki. She keeps going to the constellations and she keeps asking me to go, but I think it's quite prevalent in this area. But can you explain that a little bit to how that works with people? I think if I was to understand it, you're doing like a group therapy session and the people are acting as your ancestors, I guess, and you're intending that you're experiencing interactions with your ancestors, I think.
Yeah, because the idea is that the reincarnation is a process in which certain aspects of the habits and the character traits come back to us in a repeated way, which we call reincarnation. It's not that the same physical body is being born. Those are all nonsense ideas. Of course, physical bodies cannot non-locally travel. But the mental bodies, not even mental bodies, not even the software explicitly, but the ability of using a software, which is what a pattern of habit is. I have a habit to drink. A certain software in the brain gets activated. That capacity that I have, that habit. I have the ability of using that software. Correlate that particular software with who I am. And this who I am is the part that is reincarnated. So in this way, and also the one pattern is that people take reincarnation over and over in the same family for a very simple reason. They know the environment that they're going to get, and therefore they know that these patterns will be triggered, because usually families continue in the same kind of ambience. They continue that ambience. In this way, a certain ambience is perpetuated in the family because the same people are coming back again and again in the family. So you see, our ancestors very likely are we. We ourselves are ancestors. We have been working on it forever and forever. And we are perpetuating it in the family, creating new entries, because we will abuse, and people we abuse, they also become part of that same bad karma that will be recycled and recycled until somebody realizes that, look, I don't have to. They really don't belong to me. It's not part of my character yet. It's just a habit. I can drop it. So that's what Gary's job is.
Fantastic. So just the act of acknowledging that you're carrying this baggage from past lives and reincarnations is enough to break the cycle.
Exactly. Well put. Exactly. So, it just simply, Gary is a very patient person. You have to meet him to realize how kind and patient that person is. He's a fantastic therapist because, that's all the job is. I mean, sometimes we derive psychoanalysis, this listening power. It's not an easy thing. It's really a quality. It is a character quality. And then you listen with empathy. You non-locally open and you feel the pain and you don't go away. You don't go away. You stay there. You don't absorb the pain and make it your own pain. That would be disaster. That's the empathy. Empathy is being in somebody's pain without identifying with it. Non-locality gives you that characteristic. You can never do that with locality. But with locality, you can sympathize because our brain has neurons that we call mirror neurons. These mirror neurons give us the behavior that we are seeing before us. Brain cannot distinguish. Brain activates the mirror neurons, and if somebody is crying in your vicinity, you will feel the tendency of crying. That's called sympathy. So that's local. That's what people think, that they are being empathic. Somebody can cry in somebody's presence. That's not empathy. That's the brain's habit. Empathy goes beyond it, and therapists like Gary or any successful therapist, they don't necessarily call them quantum therapists, but they have this ability of empathizing because they're using non-local connections. People don't have to know quantum physics in order to love someone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So is there a yang to that? Is there a possible negative use of that same sort of power you're describing?
Well, this is the positive side of it. The negative side is a bit different, but yes, there can be, because the collective unconscious also has the evil energies, and that produces what Jung used to call the shadow of the archetype. So politicians can manipulate the negative emotional brain circuits of people by siding with their hate, with their lack of love, with their violence. And this is why, and because people already have built-in circuits like that, it is very easy to manipulate by demagogues to arouse people into doing criminal things.
And the media too.
Yeah. So this is unfortunate, and this, of course, we see that all too often, and we tend to look the other way because we take it for granted that that's going to happen. But it does not going to happen. It does not need to happen. Simple education will prevent people from being so gullible, being so manipulable. This is what we have done to not only just Americans today, but world over. People can be manipulated very easily because in their educational organization, they don't learn anything but how to do a job.
Yeah.
how to do something routine.
And you touch on that in your book. I mean, I found that fascinating that you touched on, not just assessing your obstacles and using those obstacles sort of as jumping off points, but also the education and the dumbing down of society, which is great. I'm glad you guys broached that, and the childhood trauma as well.
Yes, childhood trauma is a very, very good case. We could eliminate all childhood trauma and therefore much of psychotherapeutic problem that people have in their later lives by simply educating parents. And this is so mysterious. We have, can you believe we have like 12 grades of education, then we have 4 years of college, and people even do postgraduate, another 5 years to get their PhD. All this education, not a single course on parenting. Even psychotherapists don't get a course on parenting per se. I mean, they get counseling therapy and all that stuff, but not parenting per se, because they don't have a theory of what parenting is about. They don't have ideas like non-locality, what is the mother-child relationship really is like. They don't have any idea because they don't even buy into personal psychology.
That's like doctors not buying into quantum stuff or even nutrition. I think in the whole like doctor's course, there's like, 3 weeks on diet.
Exactly. I mean, look at this is just so simple, common sense. Hardware has software. Hardware requires protein. Hardware requires carbohydrate. Hardware requires fat in that proportion. We accept that. But that's just hardware. How do I keep my software intact? How do I keep my vitality intact? So vitality has to be provided too by the same food. So obviously the food has to be natural food. Food has to be alive food. How can we give stale food? How can we refrigerate food and then expect that food have the same effect as the raw food or freshly cooked food? So, okay, little refrigeration does not do that much harm, but the way we use it, people I have seen, I sometimes fall myself into that trap. And we just test if the food is still okay, edible, but it's not edible already because the vital energy is gone.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got a whole bunch of people that are eating McDonald's 5 days a week, which, we're all sort of signed in on this weird co-creation of reality thing, which I sort of picture as I've got this field that's maybe 10 feet or 6 feet around me. And that's sort of my sphere of influence, and it can kind of bump up against Graham, but I can't manipulate his reality per se. So I'm just kind of wondering if you could tease that out for me, because I've always kind of had trouble visualizing how that co-creation of reality works. Like, where does my ability to manifest start to interfere on your free will? And like, how's the best way to... What's the best way to sort of tweak that? Because manifestation doesn't stop at health. I mean, I think everyone sitting around this table knows that the sky's the limit. But it's not just I want to be a billionaire and there you go. There's like, there's a lot of hard work and intent, and you got to really visualize how and when that's all going to happen. So I was wondering if before we run out of time, you couldn't sort of, because you've been doing it for at least 7 years and probably a long time before that. But we talked to you about this first 7 or 8 years ago. And so like, where have you come to 2021?
So, co-creator. I mean, this is a fantastic question, and let's dwell on it. We are already co-creating. We are co-creating with what I call quantum self, or consciousness as the ground of being, or unconscious, non-local unconscious, higher power, whichever name you give it. We are co-creating. Everything about creativity is a co-creation. The co-creating in practice has a major problem, because this other co-creator, this higher power, etc., they are not embodied. And it's very difficult to invoke something which is not embodied, right? It is easy to say, oh, I'm invoking my spirit, I'm surrendering. But to actually do it, to be in a flow with the disembodied idea. Or you can call it name, does not help. It's still an idea in my mind. So this is where the therapist, this is where the teacher, this is where the guide has to come in a major way. This is the substitute. And you know what? We learn this substitute in our babyhood. What happens to a baby? A baby is born, and baby, many spiritual traditions say it correctly. Baby is a replica of God. The baby is full of non-locality, full of quantum self. And then the baby starts developing the mind, developing the ego. The hippocampus starts building, and we can memorize and we can sequence the memories. We have a sense of time, and all of a sudden we can tell that this is me and that is not me. And that happens about the age of 1 year. So the baby who was constantly in touch with unity, oneness, all of a sudden is feeling separateness in a major way. And then start missing the unity. Where did the unity go? Where it's practically Panicsville. And this is where mother comes in. But the mother is there, and so the baby starts substituting for the mother. Now, here is where the mother's love is so important in our life. If we have a loving mother in that crucial time, then our chance of growing up healthy without trauma would be enormously better. And this simple thing also gives you the idea of co-creating the reality. So the reality we later on access is a reality that I learned to access with my mother as co-creating the reality of that child. That child can learn some moral behavior, the child can learn social behavior. All this because the child and the mother are deciding to be a partner in co-creation. When the mother cannot do that because the mother is unhappy, that happens in a major way for autistic children. That mother is turned off, mother cannot connect, and child has no availability of this substitute that the child desperately needs. And then what happens? The child just withdraws. There are other factors too. There could be even a brain factor, but we're not going to touch on everything. This is very serious thing, co-creation. And then later on, we go to school, we similarly expect that our teachers will have that, give us that expansion before they teach us. Where do you find a teacher today who will teach expanded consciousness and not just reading, writing, arithmetic? And reading, writing, arithmetic in the most dull way possible. And even then, they won't even test if the students are learning. I sometimes used to teach just to be with people, be with ordinary people. Courses in very elementary, like elementary physics, first year non-scientist courses. And I would constantly encounter students, especially the athletes, who would be on a scholarship. They did not even learn to read. They went through the whole school, 12 grades, did not learn to read. Can you imagine? So this is the status of our education. We never co-create with any student. So the idea of co-creation has been completely lacking in our society. The first time a student gets to co-create is they come to graduate school, and then they become students of the professors, and there we finally co-create. We help them to do their research, and of course, great fun and all that. But how many people get advantage of that? So in this way, we have co-creation available only in the form of when you find a good transpersonal or humanistic therapist. Then only finally somebody will say, okay, let's be dynamic. Let's co-create a new you.
What about in a metaphysical way? Like Darren was mentioning, like we had the heart math guys on many years ago, and there's that,
I was forgetting the gurus. Now, gurus are also a rarity these days because people have, caught up some of the political correctness. The gurus know how to say things and not really live things. So to find an authentic guru, in India, the distinction is called Sat Guru. Sat means authentic. So Sat Guru versus fake guru. But the fake gurus are by far much more in number, just like the fake therapists are by far much more in number than the authentic psychotherapists. Fake teachers are by far much more in number than authentic teachers. And mind you, I'm not saying that they're not authentic people like yourself, like myself. I believe there are authentic people all around. My count is that about 15%. In fact, the psychologist David Hawking, he also thinks it's 15%. And the yogis of Shivananda Ashram, they also believe that it is 15% of people that are
potentially can experience enlightenment.
Excuse me?
Potentially experience enlightenment.
Yeah, that's the key. The experiencing as they are occurring to us, not faking it.
How do you know if you're faking it?
The person knows. And you know through constriction. You know because you are not connecting with the person. If you are not connecting with the person, then you know that this is fake, this is just thinking. There is no feeling. If the feelings are there, then this is the thing. Thinking can be conditioned. Thinking can be repeated and therefore conditioned. Feeling is very hard to repeat. Same feeling, exactly same feeling. And therefore feeling dimension is difficult to condition. Feeling can be conditioned only in association with thinking. This is why we have emotional software. We don't have any pure feeling software. So if we learn to pure feel, like I feel love for you, then that is the pure feeling. It is not making software for me. If I feel next time I love you, it will again be pure feeling. So every time we have a pure feeling, we are connecting to the expanded consciousness, to the quantum self, to the divine, to the spirit. This is the trick. We have to learn how to feel. Feel where? Feel in the body, feel in the chakras. This is the concept of the chakras. You have feeling centers. You have one in the navel, one in the heart. And listen to this. Heart has two important organs. One is the thymus gland, part of the immune system, which distinguishes between me and not me. Its job is to defend. So we have this defensive software. It defends, and very important, of course, because, we may encounter a person who is more going to emotionally hurt me. And there are this person, we call it predators. There is a section in the book called predators, about the predators. So there are those we have to protect. So defense is good. But then there are also those, many more of those who you want to love. But if you are defending, how can you love? Because heart is constricted. So you have to drop the defensiveness. The major part of that surrendering that we were talking about earlier is really dropping the defensiveness. If we drop the defensive circuit, then what happens? The immune system goes partly out of action, out of commission, and heart realizes the new function. Heart is ordinarily just a blood pump. But when immune system suspends itself, then heart reveals a new capacity, which is love. It becomes coherent, it becomes quantum, and it then is able to help us feel a new energy, the energy of love. And this new energy is automatically connecting to the archetype of love. And this is what the key of transformation is. This is what mothers give us freely. This is where friends in the childhood, they can give us. And this is where what we miss. We get some of it back in romantic relationship. But again, those don't last either. And then it just continues to be a sad story of individual separateness that is completely overtaking everything that we have previously been able to do.
That's the real pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to be around the right people, because is what you're saying and what you asked, and having this, not be in that defensive mode all the time.
No, you can't, because it's easier to be authentic when you can just not be reacting to your emotions all the time.
It's
So-
hard though.
so
It's hard to
it-
feel the heart. It's hard to feel those chakras. I mean, it really is hard to get.
I
in
don't
touch
even
with
feel
your
the
feeling.
chakras, dude. I just fucking don't give a fuck. I honestly, it's just like I don't even really meditate or do the chakra stuff or any of that. I believe I have space for it all, but I just don't take myself very seriously anymore. I think that's what the trick was I just don't take myself or
Well,
life, and I love my kids and
hey.
I love everything, but I don't even take life that seriously. I want the best for it, but I mean, you just can't get that wrapped up in it, because every time in my life I thought it was fucking coming to the worst possible end, and how could I ever? And then, it's 3 months or 6 months later, everything's hunky dory.
Yeah. This is another key part, not taking ourselves very seriously, because that is how the ego gets over into starts trumping all of our good habits, and this constricted consciousness, which you can feel in the gut, and this becomes a habit. Narcissism and the gut is where you feel it. You feel strong, but on the other hand, you're extremely isolated. You are so isolated that you cannot relate to people. You refuse to be vulnerable. Your defenses completely taken you over. It's like you have a castle inside that nobody can penetrate.
And you're jumping through hoops all the time, trying to keep all the doors closed because you can't show a moment of weakness.
It's a prison. You have your doors closed. Exactly. Live in a prison. Robert Bly used to call this the Iron Man syndrome. Women don't have that much of closeness, thank God, but they have the other problem. They are needy. They don't have strong navel chakra. So this absence of navel for the women and absence of heart for men is a general problem that prevents us from that idea of co-creation. We cannot trust another, we cannot love another, we cannot give up differences with anybody, and then how can we co-create with any person? And God is not going to come as an abstract. If it is so hard to connect with another human, embodied person, how do you expect to connect with an ideal, connect with a person that is not embodied, with just an idea, with an archetype, or with God, the focus of all archetypes? How can you connect to that if you cannot connect with another human being? People should ask this very simple question before they think that they can be spiritual or they can change.
Absolutely. Well, very well said, Amit, as usual. The book is Quantum Activation. What's the best place to track that down? Are you selling it on your own website, or should we just send them to Amazon? Or
In my website, you can get all the information about me, my colleagues, a bit about the book. But yeah, to buy it, best place is Amazon.com. Unfortunately, I don't even like the idea of a monopoly, but that is the place where you can get it most easily. It's just the truth. But do check my website, amitgoswami.org.
For sure. I'll put it I'll put it in the show notes. And thanks for putting up with all the technical difficulties at the beginning and sticking with us. It turned out to be a great show.
Yeah, it's a simple idea. It did not occur to me. I am kind of slow in the morning.
No worries.
that's okay. We're sometimes slow at night, so it's a bad mix. But you come back anytime and keep doing God's work over there.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that.
That's good. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
And that was our chat with Amit Goswami. What'd you think, buddy?
It was good. Yeah, it was a good book. I like it. Very interesting.
Yeah, you got through the book.
Yeah, the Constellation Therapy as well. And I mean, I liked how they got into the dumbing down of the society, and they got into the education problem. And I did want to ask him about the difference between pleasure and happiness. They had a chapter on that. And they have synchronicity and residual coincidences chapter.
Residual?
Residual.
Some of the things I hear in the audiobooks are just like make me laugh. But I could be pronouncing them wrong.
Like I searched for some of the pronunciations and they're not there.
That's the thing.
They're
I'm not going to email you and
they're
say
words
you
like-
pronounce this like this because I might be the.
Yeah.
I've heard I pronounce some things weird too. So whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get emails about it one day.
But yeah, that was good.
That was
Good chat.
fantastic.
7 years after we had him on. I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah, it was good.
Doobie 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 doo.
Doobie-doo, yeah.
Big thanks to Amit for coming on the show as usual. One of my favorite guests. I love talking to that guy.
Yeah.
We should make a doobie doobie doo shirt.
Yep.
Make
would
it
be
happen.
good, yeah.
America.ca/swag. I'll make it happen.
Thanks to everyone.
Yeah, big thanks to everyone for listening. Big thanks to Amit for coming on the show over in India in the morning. Big thanks to the supporters, grimerica.ca/support. We really couldn't be doing this show without you. You guys are the grease that keeps us cruising towards 500 episodes and then 1,000. grimerica.ca/support if you can, when you can. There's, 3 or 4 different ways: PayPal, Stripe, Patreon, Bitcoin, whatever tickles your fancy.
Speaking of audiobooks, you could check some of those audiobooks out.
Adultbrain.ca has all it all just links to Audible because that's the audiobook empire. But all of our books at least are there in one spot, so you can see what we've done and you can easily get it. If you want to check out our more controversial content, check out grimericaoutlawed.ca. If you want to check out our Rockfin content, rockfin.com/grimerica.
Video stuff there.
That's all video stuff. And we love you. Thanks for listening. Oh, spam Graham at grimerica.com. Join the chats, grimerica.ca/chats, grimerica.ca/social. Sign up for the newsletter, grimerica.ca/news. Be kind to each other. We love you. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.
5 pink flamingos and a few flamenco dancers. They're in the kitchen and they're baking Day of the Dead cookies. And I step into the kitchen and I'm like, let me have a lookie, see what kind of cookie you're cooking up. And they're looking up at me skeptical, and I Poindex to my spectacles. And I'm wearing a maroon Harvard t-shirt. Yeah, I know I'm a smart cookie, but I'm no psychic. You can come and ring my bell, but where we're gonna end up in the future, I can never tell. I can never tell. Me and 5 of my best friends and a few of my enemies. We're at the coffee shop and we're settling our differences. Benjamin Otto pulls out a game of Chinese checkers and he orders a cappuccino. And I pick blue and he picks red and you pick yellow. And I'm wearing a tie-dye peace sign t-shirt. Yeah, I know I'm a peacenik, but I ain't no hypocrite. You can come and ring my bell, but where we're gonna end up in the future, I can never tell. I can never tell. One bell, one man, and with my sense of smell, I can smell the salt in your tears, and I can sense your fears. You're hoping for a bit of divinity in this worldly vicinity, and you understand the fragility of the human vessel, and you sit Indian style like a pretzel, and you levitate to a transcendental state when you meditate, and you levitate to a transcendental state when you meditate, and you levitate to a transcendental state